Hi, I'm Sleepless Skies, and in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to create these beautiful ambient evolving pads and drones that you always hear in the background of melodic house and progressive house music. If you hear records on things like Anjunadeep and Colorize and Sakura, they always have these kind of amazing evolving ethereal pads going on in the background, and so that's what I'm going to show you how to create today. Let's jump in. Okay, so I'm going to start by just playing a few bars of this track that I've been working on. So you can hear already you have this kind of nice sound building up in the background. And you can hear this kind of nice spacious sound in the background going on. Really drifty, washy, and it's just releasing. And then comes back. So if I just solo this, you can just hear what's going on here on its own. And I'll take off the filtering so you can just hear the whole thing. This is just an auto filter that's on here that's cutting out, and you can see the automation of the auto filters throughout the track. I'll come back to that in a bit. So this is what you've got here. It's really kind of washy sound, and you can hear little notes and little bits coming in and out. So let's see what's in here. All right. So there's 3 layers, these pads and drones, and I'm going to show you all of them one by one. So the first one is this here, and you can see actually this is a bunch of notes. So if I play it, so if I take off, so it's a bunch of notes here. What we've got is we've got Diva just playing a patch. This is a production music live patch. Tim Engelhardt patch, actually, that one. It's really nice. But what you can hear on all of this is a load of Valhalla Supermassive. So it's really massively reverbs. So that's what it actually sounds like. You know, there's a bit of EQing. There's a bit of, I've run it through Crystallizer. You don't need to do that. That's just to kind of add a bit of interest. If I switch Crystallizer off, it's actually, what I've used here is the melody, the original refrain from the track. So this is the original, the lead melody. I've put it through Crystallizer. You could put it through also a bunch of weird delays, like filter delay is a really good Ableton stock plugin that would do something kind of similar. And then I've EQ'd it a bit just to get rid of some frequencies I don't want. I've put an auto filter on, closing and opening the filter really gradually, quite a slow rate. Just a little amount, just to kind of give that sense of opening and releasing. I don't want it on the beats, because I want to give a sense of it being off the grid. So I haven't used the note rate, I've used the hertz rate. And then as soon as I add Supermassive, by the way, is free. Get that from Valhalla's website, it's incredible. Highly recommend it. Put Supermassive on using this preset Libra Nebula. Jack it up to 100%, and suddenly we have an ethereal pad. Bit of EQ on at the end, again cutting away some frequencies. I don't want a lot of that stuff done there. It's quite muddy, so I'm just using this part here, and then taking a bit of top off, and then I use Kickstart as a sidechain plugin, but you could easily use Ableton's built-in compressor as the sidechain feature. So that's all that is going on in that. That's all that's going on there in that channel. So we've got one which is made up of the lead notes played back through a load of effects and reverbs. Then we've got 2. So this is pads. So here we've got Diva, and this is just one of the, I think it's on a stock pads. Oh, actually, no, this is one that comes from Tom Wolf. If you want to get a bunch of really nice Diva presets, Tom Wolf does them. And this is one called In a New World, from his Luscious Pads preset pack. I use a lot of presets because it's a great starting point. Like, I've probably messed around with this and changed the envelope and so on, but I like to just start with presets. It speeds up my workflow massively, and so I can get more music made. So this is the actual chord progression that the pianos are playing. The pianos in the rest of this track, they play this kind of simple chord progression all the way through. I've just taken it, I've made it a bit simpler so that it's got longer notes in it, so this pad can play it out. And I've just added some little notes here and here, just dropping different notes in to make it more interesting. And you get this sense of a note appearing and then coming in and coming out. And then we've got some EQ, I've got some panning to get some movement in it, just a little bit of gentle panning. Got the rate only down to about 0.15, so it's quite slow. I'm using this plugin here, which is free, again, called Wider. I highly recommend this. This is a plugin that gives you a broader stereo field without ruining you. It's mono compatible, so it won't ruin your mix in mono, but it gives a sense of width. If I switch that off, you can hear how much more down the center it is, and then how much wider it is. And then, of course, we've got more Supermassive. I switch off Supermassive. It's quite nice, actually, even without Supermassive on. But what Supermassive does is makes everything feel like it's up here. I've cut a load of low end off using Supermassive's built-in EQ. So you get that kind of ethereal sense there going on. And then more sidechaining from Kickstart. So that is layer 2. Then, so that's a nice way of doing it as well. Again, these are all little techniques you can use for creating these drones. You've got little arpeggiated thing that's going into reverb. You've got pads going into reverb. Now we've got my third thing that I do quite a lot, which is using an atmospheric loop. So this is a loop. And in fact, let's take everything off it so you can hear the loop on its own. So I'll just group those. Sorry, this is an actual project, so not everything is like super neat. Just been working on it. Right, okay. So this is the loop. So I find a loop that's got some interesting stuff in it. Like, this has just got a bunch of interesting notes. And this loop actually, this loop is supposed to be like this. I think something like that. It's like I stretched it to I think it was double time. Basically, I've stretched it out double time, which gives it kind of already kind of a slightly detuned, otherworldly feel. I've adjusted the warp mode to complex so that it can accommodate the tonal nature of it. If you put this in beat mode, it would be a bit weird. You could use others, by the way. Like, sometimes it's interesting to go into like, what does it do in texture? You can get some cool grainy effects, but it's not really it wasn't the vibe I was looking for. But you can do some cool things with grains in texture mode. But we put it in complex, and then what I'm adding here is some EQ8. Let's take these off and I'll add them one by one so you can hear what it does. So EQ8 to get rid of a lot of low end. Filter delay, just because, like, filter delay just does. I think this is like literally just dragging and dropping filter delay on there. I don't know if this is a preset or not. I think it was just literally a drag and drop. It just adds a whole lot of weirdness to it. Like I said, like the crystallizer does, you're just creating some bizarre kind of chaos in the sound. And then some auto pan to give it some panning movement, wider to spread that movement out a little bit each time, and to give it a more of a greater sense of width. That was the same plugin I used before. Of course, then we've got Supermassive. And there we go. This one's Cygnus X1. I love this preset on Supermassive. Supermassive Cygnus X1. Go for it. It's great. And then full 100% full 100% mix. So you get, again, this washy background kind of vibe. You can't really hear notes. If I take the sidechain off, you can hear how it's just doing stuff. It's great. EQ, compression, because there was some pretty big spikes in this sample, so the volume was really up and down. There was a lot of dynamics, so I add a bit of compression just to kind of chop off the top of some of those spikes. And then you've got your side chaining just to kind of make it fit with the rest of the music. So this is all very cool. All together, layered, you get this real sense of interest. Like, it's kind of... oh, it's so musical and doesn't feel like it's come from a computer, you know? It's got a sort of organic, otherworldly feel to it. I've put, like I said, I put an auto filter on, which means I can automate that with the track. So these automation arcs match the energy in the track, each one building up to a crescendo. Now, the other thing there's some other little bits going on here as well, which I'll show you. So the first thing is using return channels. So I've got all this group, and I'm going to send this, first of all, to a return channel called Widener. And Widener is down here, and Widener has the wider plugin on it at full stretch, 200%. It's got a delay module, a little delay plugin from Ableton set up to do Haas effect. I won't go into all that, how you do that here, but basically it's you can see there, you switch it onto time mode and basically adjust each of the different times by milliseconds, so that you can get this sense of like one triggering in one speaker triggering one side, one speaker triggering slightly afterwards, and that just gives you a Haas effect delay between the two sides of your stereo field. And you can easily Google tons of people who will show you how to set that up. And then EQ8 here, which is just rolling off some of the subs. So this is a return channel I use all the time to just allow me to send a bit more width. If I just want a bit more width on something, I use it sometimes on hi-hats, I use it sometimes on vocals. It's just to kind of add a bit of side interest. And then the other thing I'm sending this channel to here is called Pad FX. So this is a cool idea. I use this a lot, which is to just basically throw a ton of cool effects into a return channel. What have I got on here? A little EQ to roll off the basses. I've got more crystallizer, just because crystallizer is great. Highly recommend that from Sound Toys. I've got a reverb with like a big long 10-second decay on it. Pre-delay of 2.5 seconds, completely wet. I've got some compression just to control some of that together. I've got some auto panning. I've got a filter to give it some auto filter gives it some movement on an LFO there, about halfway up, going on an 8-bar rate, so it matches with the refrains of the music. I've got this kind of EQ, which just basically helps to cut away everything I don't want. So if you just listen to that on its own, it's quite faint. Just turn up a bit so you can hear it. But it's just a bunch of kind of weird slushiness that's going on in the background. And so I'll send... You can actually use that. I've stopped the music now and it keeps going. You can use it for lots of cool things. Like you can send a vocal to that Pad Effects channel, just quickly send a few words out to it, and it will just have this kind of washiness and it'll keep those going. It's very cool. But I've added that to this as well. So you can see this, the way to create these drones and pads is just layers and layers and layers and layers, lots of reverbs, lots of EQ and compression to make sure you're controlling that sound, because the more reverb you add, the more out of control it can get. So you want EQ and compression to make sure you're putting that in the right place in your mix. And when you get it all together as part of a track, it sounds really nice. Lovely. And this becomes a kind of canvas that you can paint the rest of your track onto, you know? Okay, I hope you've enjoyed that video and got something from it. I'd love to hear in the comments what you think, whether there's other ways that you love to create pads and drones. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more videos, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.